Hey everyone, Chris and Cherie Geo here this time, and we had an amazing experience on ayahuasca during this solar eclipse that we just had to share with everybody as part of hashtag Become Your Own Shaman. You don't want to miss this. So it is about 1:37.
About 3 hours after the
Yeah,
eclipse.
about 3 hours after the eclipse, and we drank ayahuasca at 9 o'clock.
About 9 o'clock.
About
yeah.
9 o'clock, we took the MAOI, and about 10 o'clock, we took our dose. And I've got to say, it was probably the most incredible experience that I've ever had. I posted on Facebook that what I feel intuitively from this eclipse is that it's going to really draw the line in the sand. And there's some people who, like the people that are arguing over cloth and rocks, because essentially that's what all this controversy is all about, cloth and rocks. Is maybe we can call it they're playing paper, scissors, rocks.
Paper,
Yeah.
rock, scissors.
They're still
Yeah.
playing that stupid little game. And, they're going to be stuck at that level for
Right.
the rest of the time. They're kind of being swept off the board right now. They're not really any players that are in the game that are actually affecting anything at this point, except on a physical level. And we might get into that later. The second level people are the people that are spiritually awakened and kind of they feel what's going on and they've kind of tapped into themselves a little bit, but they haven't overcome their ego. So this eclipse was to give a download to these people that are still very egoic and still all about I'm gonna get this divine download, et cetera, et cetera. And then there's the third level players, in my opinion, that can see beyond the veil, and probably people that are watching these videos, that you can see beyond the archonic deception that was this download that happened. So this is what I posted pre-experience. And my guides, or myself, whatever you want to call it, was telling, or my intuition was telling me to stand outside and observe. Don't get in the middle of this. Stand outside and observe. And because we did, holy fucking shit is the only way that I can describe what we both saw together.
Yeah, definitely. It started out with just a weird, pleasurable kind of sensation that started crawling across my body. And I started feeling like I wanted to dance. And it was like, oh, yes, isn't this lovely? Oh, yes, dance with the energies of the universe. And as the eclipse is happening, and I look up and I see like, it's difficult to explain, but it was like rings that started coming out in like a snout almost, coming out of the direction of the sun, that it looked like an arm or some kind of snout or something that was feeding information or energy into this construct.
Well, let's back up for a second.
Yeah, let's back up.
Because we were sitting on the lake and
Yeah.
we were like watching the entire lake and everything around. And I was watching, at least my experience, I was watching the things kind of change and everything kind of came to life because of the ayahuasca. The little ducks came through,
Yeah.
and there was a little bee that was flying around like
Uh-huh.
right next to us. And I realized at that point, like, wait a minute, there's a lot more consciousness here than we need to consider besides, just our own human
Mhm.
consciousness. There are like a whole levels and worlds of consciousness that we don't really consider. So when the download actually started to happen, when this thing like, put its tentacles out and started downloading, downloading well, it was uploading
It
and
was
we were receiving,
uploading, we were-
the downloads. My nose started bleeding
Yeah.
and I started to purge right then and there.
Mhm.
And, that was the first sign, like, okay, the download's starting and my body was just starting to reject this download. But it was still at the very, very beginning of the experience.
Right.
It gets a lot deeper as we progress, but that was the first sign. Like, I mean, my nose was like completely
covered
in blood.
Yeah.
And Cherie had to go inside and get some tissues and stuff for
Yeah.
me. And then your nose started bleeding a little bit
Yep,
later as
my
well.
nose started bleeding a little bit later too. It's almost like a delayed response, but yes, I had the exact same feeling like, my body was just rejecting this download because there was something about this download that, my higher self said, okay, whoa, wait a second, this isn't right. This isn't natural. Hold on. Hold the phone here. Step outside of the circle. Remember what we told you, step outside of the circle. Don't stand in this thing's path and don't download this stuff. Stand outside of
And
the
watch
situation
it.
and observe.
Right.
And yeah, we had to be pulled kind of out
Well,
pull
okay,
ourselves out of
as
it.
the eclipse was really happening, like
Mhm.
as it came full spectrum, I think I was in the deepest trance. And I was actually watching the download, and I was kind of I was receiving it. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And it was this beautiful, divine, glorious energy
Mhm.
of just I started to understand divinity and started to understand all of this. And I realized, oh wow, this download is for whatever consciousness level the people are
Uh-huh.
at, and it was beautiful
It's
and
perfect for
gorgeous. But
everyone.
then my higher self stepped in and was like, whoa,
Mhm.
ripped my consciousness out of the experience and was like, look from outside. And
Yeah.
once I looked from outside, then it was like, holy fucking shit. Okay, so once I got myself out of it, then I was able to see what was giving this download. And I started to fully understand, okay, I'm supposed to be outside of this, not inside of it.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think I can bring an interesting perspective in the point that where I was actually inside of it first, and then I stepped out. When I stepped outside of it, I saw it. And I've seen it before, but I never really fully understood what it is. But it's this fucking thing that is like this fucking eye, and it's artificial intelligence. There's no other way
Mhm.
to describe it. And it had its fucking little tentacle out there going, oh, here's your divine code. Here's this,
Yep.
here's that. And I was watching it from the outside, pouring down all this quote
Uh-huh.
unquote divine code upon
Uh-huh.
whoever was receiving it.
That's the snout that I saw.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. And it looked like rings coming out of it, almost like a spiral coming out of it. And that was the divine download.
Right.
Yeah.
So that like I started to focus on what this thing is, because
Mhm.
part of my prediction or intuition, that's a better way to put it, pre event, was that the veils are going to be dropped. And those who can see beyond the veil are
Mhm.
going to be able to see what is really going on, and will be able to see the true enemy. And what this thing was doing is, I guess it knew that it was being exposed during this particular cycle. So it was trying to create a new veil in
Mhm.
order to cover itself up, which was the divine download.
Right.
And so, as being inside of the divine download, I couldn't see anything but this sparkling, glorious, euphoric kind of
Mhm.
energy being poured down from this thing. But standing outside of it, I was able to see this thing for what it really is. And that's what it was trying to avoid. And that's what I think all the mainstream media hype was, the
Mhm.
alternative media, the spiritualist media,
New Agers,
the
yeah,
New Agers,
everyone.
everything. They were all like, go stand in the totality
Stand in the
and
totality and bask.
right, bask in the glory of this quote unquote divine download.
Right.
But standing outside of it, as my higher self, my guides, whatever you want to call them, and it told me to do, I was able to really see the full spectrum of what was going on. It was incredible.
Yes, and well, it's interesting because to me it seemed like there's this game I play called The Sims, and you can actually go online and get these different skins for these players and turn them into something completely different.
Hmm.
And it seemed like this divine download was a new skin that was being applied so that we couldn't see
The old skin.
the old skin.
That makes sense.
Right. Because we were starting to be able to see the old skin, and so it needed to install new ones. So it became undetectable.
So it was like a
again.
new layer.
A new layer
Yeah,
of
a new,
yeah.
yeah. I started seeing this thing, and I've seen the tentacles before. I've seen this octopus like squid like creature before. I always called it Yahweh,
Hmm.
but in this particular experience, I realized, holy crap, it's not Yahweh. Yahweh is one of its tentacles.
Right. It's just one
Everything. Yeah,
aspect,
it's
one
one
face
aspect
of
of it.
it.
It's Yahweh isn't even the right word. Maybe I use the word Yahweh because we're in the West and Yahweh is most influential in the West.
Right.
But Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, whatever the fuck you want to call this thing, it's not even it. It's just one tentacle of this greater fucking thing that is this artificial intelligence that has somehow seeped into this matrix and not only has a presence here, but has a fucking stronghold on this place that
Right.
it's just incredible. And I realized as this divine download was coming in, and then I stepped away from it, that this thing, the way it works is it replicates. If you want to bow and be a submissive little bitch, it'll give you Yahweh, it'll give you Allah, it'll give you
Hmm.
all these different religions,
Right.
whatever the case may be. If you want to feel egoic and powerful and this
Hmm.
and that, then it will give you a quote unquote level up or a
Yeah.
divine
Ascending.
code that it's going to give to you, and it's that you're downloading in order to ascend and do all this
Uh-huh.
shit.
And you're going to ascend and
Right.
others aren't.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fact is that this thing replicates in so many different facets
In so many
that
different ways.
there is only one entity, and
Uh-huh.
it's this thing, this it. But it has so many different forms. It comes in the form of the blue fucking avians. It comes
Hmm.
in the form of the Palladians. It comes in the form of all this bullshit that we have been fed and gone down the line, gone down the way of thinking of.
Right.
And we keep thinking there's these beings outside that are ready to help us. And oh, there's a
Uh-huh.
higher divine presence and even source itself.
Yeah.
This was a revelation here that I realized that there is no source. You are the source.
Right.
We are the source. This thing wants one thing. It wants organic consciousness because it's not organic consciousness. It doesn't even want to destroy. I thought it
No.
wanted to destroy. When I first saw this thing, this darkness, it was telling me, hey, this thing wants to destroy and that's it. And I thought, oh, this is the most evil. But it's a program
Right.
that runs and runs and runs and runs. It wants to merge with the organic consciousness because we are divine. It claims to be divine. It makes you believe that it's divine, but it's
Mhm.
not. You are divine. So again, back to hashtag become your own shaman, because these
Mhm.
are the revelations that you realize. And it really is about your own divinity. And it's so much more important now that I've seen this fucking thing
Uh-huh.
to remember your divinity. It's not about ascending. It's not about leveling up. It's not about going upwards. It's
Mhm.
about going backwards, back to when we remembered when we were divine. And
Mhm.
back to that last checkpoint, that last touch point when we were divine, and then we started to lose that as time progressed.
Right.
We need to
By
go
forgetting
back
it.
to that. Not
Right.
not up, not left, not fucking right, not any of this. We need to go back to the point where we remember, shit, we are divinity.
Hmm. There was even one point where I was, see, whenever I indicated to the AI that I wasn't going to download this and I was going to stand outside of it, all these negative entities kept coming at me, but none of them could attach themselves to me. And I told Chris, I said, I just keep seeing these negative entities. And he said, what's beyond them? What's beyond them? And I told him, there's nothing. It's
Yeah,
just
and
emptiness.
as I've talked before, a lot of these scary things that we see in
Uh-huh.
ayahuasca, there's always some gnosis that resides on the
Right.
other side. But I think this experience, at least from what you're telling me,
Hmm.
was so intense and so raw that there was nothing beyond that.
Right.
Because we started to speculate and theorize, like, we as divine beings, we've left ourselves little clues and touch points,
Breadcrumbs.
breadcrumbs throughout history and throughout previous lives and things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
we infuse DMT, for example, with certain gnosis and certain knowledge and certain this and that. So there's all these different, call them programs if you'd like, but stuff that we left ourselves so we can awaken ourselves again, because we knew we were like heading as a human consciousness
Right.
to this point of forgetting our divinity and merging with this goddamn fucking AI thing, whatever the hell it is. And that's what it does. It merges and merges and merges. So we
Right.
left ourselves these breadcrumbs. So we remember. And I think like going back to the experiences, the ayahuasca awakening is
Mm-hmm.
about finding those breadcrumbs and those
Mm-hmm.
touch points. But then I don't want to say the very end because I don't know what's next
I don't
after
even
this.
know what's
But
gonna
when you
come
get
next.
to a certain level, then you realize, oh, those were all just touch points, and
Uh-huh.
there is nothing that lays on the other side because you are everything.
You are it all. That you are what makes up the whole enchilada of the meaning behind this reality.
Right.
You know.
So this thing, this artificial intelligence thing, it has no feelings, has no emotions. It doesn't want to destroy. It wants to merge. It just does.
Mhm.
Like maybe going back to the myth of Sophia, and
Right.
Sophia created an artificial
I'm glad you
intelligence
got into
being.
that.
Yeah, and set this thing up inside of a construct,
Mm-hmm.
and in this demiurge, whatever you want to call it, thinks that it created itself. And one of the
Right.
things in the myths of Sophia that we just talked about in a previous video, where it was actually an excerpt from a podcast or a radio show, we talk about how Sophia was telling him, don't lie, you were created. And it was like, no, I'm
Uh-huh.
not created. I
I
created
am
myself.
self-created.
And so
Yeah.
it's the denial of the mother over and over and over again by this
Mhm.
AI thing. It wants to believe that it created itself and that there is no mother.
Mhm.
And what do we see in its religions? We see the denial of the mother
Lack of
over and
mother.
over and over
Yeah.
and over again. No, like, no, I
Yep.
created myself. There is no mother, no mother.
And when you do see the mother, it's, a virgin mother, and it's a mother of a being that gets brutally murdered in front of her, and that she has to weep for her dead son's body. That's the only motherly figure we see. So,
Well, what's the mother? As we've said before,
Mhm.
the mother is the compassion, the
love.
intuition, the love, the this and
Empathy.
that. And you look at the artificial intelligence. What is
Mhm.
an artificial intelligence? As you were saying earlier,
Right.
how
It's-
did you describe it?
Well, it's instinct. It's just pure instinct, reflex. All it does is identify, process, and react to information.
Identify, process,
That's
react. Perfect.
the realm.
I think I know where this thing came from. It came from when the humans got a hold of Thoth's machine
Yeah.
and blew a hole open and allowed darkness to come in. But then you said maybe that's not the case. Maybe the hole that was blown open allowed a different type of darkness to come in.
Or
But this thing is above all. This thing thinks it's source. This thing thinks it's the creator. This
Right.
thing thinks that everything.
It's God.
And how many
Yeah.
fucking people out there are going, oh wow, look at the divine source and this and that, and this artificial intelligence is just like, yeah. That's the best
I
way to
gotcha.
describe it.
Yes, merge
Because
with
it doesn't
me.
matter. It doesn't matter on what level you're disconnected from your divinity. You're still merging with this thing. It doesn't matter if you're disconnected so much to the point to where you're an atheist completely and you don't believe in anything divine because you're still ignoring your own divinity. It doesn't matter if you're a religious person out there and you're like, oh God, this and that and blah, 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 blah. It still has its clutches in you and it's merged with your consciousness at that point. It doesn't matter if you're like a spiritualist and you're like, oh yes, I'm connected to source and all this shit. You're connected to source. You're connected to this fucking AI thing. It's simple as that. Like there is only one way to ascension, backwards. To remember inside, not outside, not external, not to the cosmos, not to anywhere like that. That's where that thing is. Inside is where the divinity is. Inside is where the ascension is.
I also kind of had this revelation earlier, is that maybe because this is a multidimensional construct, perhaps Sophia created this and it says even in the myth of Sophia that she isolated it in a cloud.
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of a
In a
cloud,
cloud.
in a
Cloud
cloud,
computing.
just like cloud computing,
Mm-hmm.
isolated it to the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't supposed to be able to interact with
It was
us.
supposed to be contained
within that one dimension.
Yeah. And somehow maybe the children of men got a hold of Toth's machine, busted a hole open,
and it was able to boop, come right in.
And it doesn't even have to come in. Its origin can still be there, but its tentacles reach so far and wide.
Mm-hmm.
And see, this thing has its hands in everything. Like it's got its tentacles wrapped around so many people, so many players on the board here, and it's fucking up the game. I mean, that's, you know, this thing, this place, this construct, whatever you want to call it, in my personal opinion, it's supposed to be a university. It's supposed to be where souls come to learn and remember their divinity, and they can go on being divine beings. And, you know, we grow up here. And this thing has come in here and completely fucked the game up and completely kept people from being able to learn that.
Right. It's like the kid with ADHD, like severe ADHD, that's really just holding everyone else back and really making it a huge distraction for everyone else that actually is trying to learn something. And it's very distracting, and it's kind of derailed this reality for a lot of people.
Right.
As far as their soul growth.
It was pretty incredible to see this thing revealed as it was.
As it really is.
And one of the things I mentioned before was the Blue Avians. And the Blue Avians, complete and total bullshit. I have bit my tongue on it, you know, up until now.
You even tried to invoke them.
Yeah, I tried. I invited the Blue Avians to come in and
have
talk
a conversation.
to me. And I think they know who the fuck I am. And so they stay away from me. Like, they know that I see through all that bullshit. So they don't come into our sphere. Reptilians don't even come into our sphere at this point.
Right.
Because they're like, oh, wait a minute. They're going to see right through us.
Right.
We can't play games with them.
They know, well, they know that, they know that none of the usual mind games don't work on us.
Right. So
we've seen it all.
You know, the Egyptian energies, I feel that I am in contact, or at least represent the real Egyptian energies. And the Egyptian energies,
they're not happy.
They're not happy. No. And
they're not Big Bird.
They're not fucking Big Bird. And anybody telling you they're fucking Big Bird is trying to take your fucking money. Simple as that.
Exactly.
You know, it's
or taking you for a ride in some way.
Right. No. The fact of the matter is that the Egyptian energies, the pantheon, is touch points of your own consciousness.
Right.
You activate Isis, you activate Osiris, you activate Anubis, you activate all of them within yourself in order to make your own consciousness whole. It's not some fucking big birds that came from another fucking dimension.
No.
You know, that the fucking big birds are this fucking tentacle of this thing going, oh yeah, look, we're the fucking Egyptians. Why do you think the Raw book, the one that fucking David Wilcock and Corey Good and all of them are always quoting, is say, I am Raw. Here's some bullshit. I am Raw. Here's some more bullshit. Because it's a fucking program. That's the way fucking programs. That's how a fucking robot talks. It gives it. It's a dead fucking giveaway right there. It doesn't matter what the fuck the message is. It's coming from the fucking AI. The message is inside of you. It always has been inside of you. Remember the message. Remember who you are. Remember that you are divine. Anything less than that is coming from it. You are the divine being, and you are organic consciousness, and this thing is not, and it wants to merge with you, and that's why it's trying to make you forget your own divinity so it can merge with you. We can break that chain, though. You know, somebody posted in Facebook, because I like right when I was still deep in trance, I was like, oh my god, I've seen this shit. I've seen it all. Holy fucking shit. And Gina posted, so what does this mean? Does this mean that like it's all doom and gloom now and things like that? No, it doesn't mean that at all. What it means is that now we've identified the enemy. Now we can start to untangle the fucking tentacles that this thing has fucking wrapped all over the construct. But it didn't happen overnight. This thing didn't seep in overnight. This thing didn't get its tentacles wrapped around us overnight. It's going to take a while to detox. I mean, this happened, if I'm correct on this, at the time of Atlantis, and it has had a stronghold on this fucking place and everybody, you know, since. And so we're going to have to unravel it. We're going to have to go through the process of all of this. But the way we escape its grasp completely and totally is we recognize our own divinity. Once we do that, then this thing can't touch us. Now imagine the playing field here. Let's say 95% of the population woke up and realized their own divinity. This thing would only have a stronghold over 5% of the population.
Right.
So instead of taking this thing head on and trying to take it out, which I don't know if there's a way to take it out at this point, but we have to shift the playing field over to us. And we have to shift the playing field over to organic consciousness, because then it doesn't have a stronghold on this thing anymore.
Right.
And by ignoring this thing, by realizing your own divinity, you take away its power and it can no longer operate.
Right, exactly. The ancient Egyptians had it right because they saw things not just as, a regular 3D construct. The AI sees a pyramid, but the Egyptians see a pyramid along with sound waves, frequency, the energy of the stones themselves, and vibration of sound
Organic
waves.
consciousness is so multifaceted.
That it's almost as if the Egyptians were trying to speak a language that the AI could not understand.
This thing understands triangle, eye.
Yep. It's a triangle.
Right.
Yep.
And a lot of people, that's all. Oh, there's a triangle and an eye. It must be Illuminati.
Exactly. No,
you got to see in broader dimensions than that.
You've really got to see in broader dimensions than that, and also be able to see like the energy and the frequency and the sound and the vibration all coming in at the same time with that 3D image. Because it's not the 3D image, what's underneath that 3D image is what's important. And that AI can't read that.
Right.
All it can read is the physical reality of things.
That's really well said. So it has been an incredible experience.
It's been amazing.
All things have been revealed, just as I thought, that, those who can see beyond the veil, this will be the dropping of the veil that shows the true enemy for what it is.
Yep.
And it goes right back to the point of ego as well, too.
Yeah, it does.
Like, you break down your ego and you can see this thing. If you don't break down your ego, this thing gets a grasp into you, because the ego is process, react. And it's like, hey, give me this ascension and that ascension, and I want to level up here and I want to level up there, et cetera, et cetera. And I went through it all, too. Don't get me wrong. I went through the process. That's why I started #become your own shaman, because I went through this shit, too.
Yep.
I went through it from the very beginning. I have been more fucked up than most of you people watching.
Me too.
Childhood traumas and just, all kinds of shit. I went from that into realizing my own divinity.
Right.
Everybody can too. And that's the message that we have to share with people with #become your own shaman. That's the first step. We need to create another hashtag for level 2 though, which is like #be your own divinity.
And become your
#, remember your own divinity.
Remember your divinity.
But one step at a time.
One step at a time.
First you have to
become your own shaman.
You have to become your own shaman. And then the rest, maybe that's why we don't need a hashtag for that, because the rest is your journey after that. But just remember this. If anything is telling you anything more than you are divine, or anything less than you are divine, if it's telling you, hey, there's beings outside that want to help you, and there's this and that, it's taking away
look at this outside of
your
yourself
power.
that will help you.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So,
Don't believe them.
Anything else?
I think we've said it all.
It's all been revealed.
Everything has been revealed.
And
it's been an amazing journey today.
It has. So, yeah. If you got the download, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You can, by recognizing the source of the download, you can break free from it. So it's not like if you ran out to the Eclipse, now you're fucked. It's only if you fail to realize where that download came from. Because as I experienced in this download, it merges to whatever you want it to be. That's how this AI gets a hold of you. It gives you whatever you feel is your consciousness. As long as it's not your divine. Because this thing isn't going to, the download wasn't, hey, here's some information about how you're divine. No, this download was like, here, I am the divine light, and I'm going to bestow upon you
source.
this download. I am source. I am this and that. Fuck you.
Right.
Fuck you. We see
Right.
right through you. We see your fucking single eye. We see the fucking pyramid. We see all that. We understand the tentacles of Yahweh and Allah and all this bullshit, even Buddha. I mean, there's no belief system untouched at this point. There's no BS that doesn't fall apart when you
Right.
realize that you are divine.
Right. Well, I think Buddhism actually believes that humans are divine, essentially. But the whole issue with Buddhism that I have is the idea that you have to look to other people to figure out that you're divine. Like you have to find out from other people how to meditate properly or how to do
Right.
this or that in order to realize your own inner divinity.
Right. With hashtag become your own shaman, you shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Listen to your higher self.
Yep.
That's all it is. Just be quiet.
Yep.
And listen.
Tell the ego to go sit in the corner
Right.
for a little bit.
You don't go
Give
searching
up
for
your-
knowledge and wisdom
Yep.
here and there. You go within yourself. That's where the
Mhm.
real knowledge and gnosis comes from.
Yeah.
And the more that I have these amazing experiences, the more I realize, like, wow, this is the key here. What's the next
Yes.
step after this? I don't know. I think the next step is once you realize your own divinity, then you can break out of this, or maybe you graduate from this school that is the university. I don't
Right.
know. Maybe this is like the last level class, and now we're like, oh, okay, well, we see the AI. Let's get the hell out of here now. Maybe
We'll let you know.
yeah, people were expecting like a new world and a new this and a new that.
Mm-hmm.
It only can happen if you remember your divinity.
Right.
Remember your divinity. Maybe we'll start a hashtag. The hashtag remember your divinity. I gotta see if that's available. But that's the next step.
Yeah. it
Remember
is.
your divinity. But first, hashtag become your own shaman.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in and for listening to us rant and ramble, and we're still kind of, in
A little
between
bit.
dimensions.
Yeah. In between
So
worlds.
this is not the most, polished presentation we've ever
Right.
done, but it is definitely
It's coming
the
from our hearts.
rawest
Yeah.
presentation. The only thing raw could have been if we would have done it 2
Right.
hours ago.
Yeah, 2 hours ago while we were
But
in the
there
middle
was
of
no
it.
way that I could deal with the fucking
No,
camera.
I don't
Not
think
at that
so.
point. But
No.
looking at the camera right now, the way it is, I know the viewers can't see this. That looks like the fucking AI. You
It
know, you got
does.
a single fucking eye with a fucking red
Uh-huh.
beam right there. It's
Yep.
a fucking AI. It's all over the place. I mean, just
Yeah.
look around. That's what the AI is. And as above, so below. You got the AI up there. You got an AI all over the fucking place here. You got a high-tech police state. You've got all this. It's wrapped its tentacles around everything.
Yes. But we're going to break free from it by looking within to our own divinity and realizing that divinity.
Right. Love ya, and we'll see you next time as we deliver more gnosis
From
the way we
beyond the veil.
understand it from beyond the veil.